Okay, we are now back in session. We had our retreat, commissioners, as we all know, in January, and we had a lot of things that we discussed. One of the things we, however, did not get to was looking at updating the strategic plan. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time today to try to do that prior to us getting into the budget process.
Okay, well, again, as Ms. Poole just said, we were hoping to do this at the retreat, but ran out of time because of such good discussion going on. That too, I think so, yeah. But, so what we want to do is we're going to go through, you've got your mission statement there. Through visionary leadership and good stewardship, we will ensure public safety, administer state requirements, determine county needs, and provide services to continually enhance the quality of life. I think you guys worked really hard on that last year, and I think it's a really good statement. But if you want to, hold on, Jonathan, hold on. Yeah, you guys feel pretty comfortable that you want to keep that mission intact and continue to move forward working towards those goals? Or, okay, all right. Vision statement, same thing. You guys adopted this at the same time. Our vision for Cabarrus is a county where our children learn, our citizens participate, our dreams matter, our families and neighbors thrive, and our community prospers. Again, I think that's very good, and your goals that you had put in place and objectives we're in line with both that mission and vision statement. And what we want to do now, if you want to revisit the vision statement or not, I think everybody's still comfortable with that. Well, what we're going to do now is visit your goals. Erica's going to talk about the goals that we have in place and the objectives that were put under those goals, and give you sort of a progress report on those. See if you want to continue those for another year, and we've got some recommended changes as well. And then if you guys want to do add anything to it or delete any of those goals that you don't think are relevant anymore. So with that, I'll turn it over to Erica.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Just to give the public some background on our strategic plan. The county first created its multi-year strategic plan in 2007. This plan serves as our roadmap towards achieving our vision that Mike just spoke of. It also provides our operational direction of the county on an annual basis. Today, what we'd like to do is provide you with an update on our achievement thus far on our current strategic goals and our objectives, and to discuss what changes, if any, you'd like to make to our current strategic plan. Okay. If you turn to page 113 in the agenda, this is our big picture. At the top you have our vision. Our vision is where we want to be. Our vision for Cabarrus County, as Mike has said, I'll repeat it, is a county where our children learn, our citizens participate, our dreams matter, our families and neighbors thrive, and our community prospers. The county has 5 broad goals that further define what that vision will look like. And they are the 5 goals that are before you on page 113. What we've done for you on the following pages, and we'll get to that detail in just a minute, is provide you with sort of status updates on various initiatives that we've put in place to achieve those goals. A summary of the progress thus far for those goals are as follows. For goal number 1, we feel that we're making progress. And that goal is to preserve and enhance the quality of life by addressing growth with sound public policies that sustain resources, provide high-quality services, and fund infrastructure needs. So we feel like we're making progress with that regard, and we'll talk about that in detail. Goal number 2, achieve community-wide preparedness to protect public safety, respond to routine and catastrophic events, and maintain and restore the well-being of all residents. We feel that we're making progress with that regard as well. We'll talk about those initiatives. Goal number 3, use resources wisely and responsibly by protecting assets, minimizing risk, creating partnerships, and using technology to maximize the value of county investments, expenditures, and services. We're making progress with that regard. With goal number 4, promote a fully engaged community with a shared understanding of its issues and challenges and working together to achieve its goals. That's an area that we feel that we haven't quite made the best progress in, but we do have some planning efforts underway. And our last goal, number 5, ensure all citizens have equal opportunity and access to education, health care, and economic prosperity, and encourage citizens to fulfill their potential and contribute to their community. That's another area that we feel that we're making progress. Now, we created a scoring range of 4 different categories. If you scroll down a little bit, Kay, at the bottom. Our achievement legend is divided into 4 different categories. Those categories are success, progress, planning, or no development. And to gauge our success in each of those 5 goals, there are 15 different indicators on the following pages that measure our progress or our achievement stage towards those 5 goals. Of those 15, there are 6 in which we've achieved success, 6 in which we're making progress or we're progressing towards success, 2 in which we're in the planning stage, and there's 1 objective in which there's been no formal action taken by the county. And we'll talk about that particular item and your direction with regards to that objective. But overall, in 12 out of 15, or 80% of our objectives, we're either successful in our efforts or we're progressing well with regards to achieving the goals of the county. Are there any questions on that overview? No? Okay. So to briefly walk you through what we've achieved thus far, with regards to goal number 1, it has a total of 6 objectives, 2 of which we've been successful, 3 of which we've made progress, and 1 in which there have been no development, and that's the action item that we'll talk about more in detail. Our success, we've achieved success in items 2 and 4. Number 2 is develop a long-term financial model for providing for the capital needs of schools with a minimum of 10% to be pay-as-you-go. This will work toward long-term goal of paying for new schools with 20% of construction funds designated as pay-as-you-go. We've been successful there with significantly more than 10% of our capital projects for the school being paid through cash resources. Number 4, begin a comprehensive sustainable community initiative with the North Carolina Agricultural Development and Farmland Preservation Trust Fund grant proposal as the centerpiece. This initiative will include a plan to green county government operations and regulations by employing environmentally friendly practices. And we provided for you the initiatives that we've done over the last couple of years and this current fiscal year to achieve that. Now, there are 3 areas in which we're making progress. 1 is the first one, to approve a financing plan to fund the school system's 5-year critical needs. We feel that we have, through QSCAPs, we've been able to identify some of the current or critical needs of the school systems. However, both school systems have additional critical needs that are not currently addressed in our 5-year plan, and this is due to some financial constraints that the county has at this time. Number 3, set the tax rate at a level that raises significant revenue to meet county needs and goals. That's another one which we're making progress towards. Our current tax rate has been relatively flat, and we've been able to maintain services to meet the basic needs of the county, but we have had to make some reductions in county services over the past couple of years that have impacted some of the services that residents would like to see. Also, we're making progress with regards to Item number 6, develop a single comprehensive plan which focuses on sustainable efforts and defines areas for future utility extensions, land uses and densities, consistent, high-quality development standards, water use and conservation, annexations, roads, and other transportation improvements, school construction, and other public improvements for a collaborative effort involving the public, the county, all municipalities, the school systems, and WASAC. That is an area in which several initiatives have been implemented. However, we don't have one consistent plan that addresses all municipalities and the schools as in one document. The last item with regards to goal number 5 is the item in which we've had no development. This is number 5, work with the school boards to determine any advantages in offering more distance learning classes. There's been no formal action taken by the county with regards to this objective, so we've had this rates as no development. This is an item in which staff has recommendations on changing, and we'll discuss that in the second part of this report. That's goal number 1. Any questions on the progress thus far for goal number 1? For goal number 2,
Sure you
Can we,
mhm.
it might help me, can we kind of go ahead with each goal and talk about recommended changes?
Sure,
And then
we sure can.
kind of move on to the next one, and
Yep.
it'll help me with the flow.
Okay, that
Um,
works well. I have provided to you a document that has the staff recommendations on objective changes. We have, for goal number 1, there's one objective that we do have a recommendation for, which is the last one I spoke of. And the staff's recommendation is to basically discuss this objective with the schools because it seems to better align to their goals and objectives, and remove this as a county goal. Even though the county has influence with regards to this matter, we really don't have the ability to directly impact that measure. So that's why we're recommending to remove this one from our current strategic plan.
Comments or questions?
I think it's something very important to interact with and continue to interact with the school systems, because I was reading something today where a large percentage of students are going to become online students or homeschooled students in Mecklenburg County, and I think it's just a matter of growing. And I think, and my philosophy in regards to Cabarrus County is there is distance learning classes now, and what is being done, or why can't we do more synergy to create distance learning within the county that if there's a class being offered, well, IB is going to be taught at Concord High School, I believe. Well, there needs to be some advantage, or should be some advantages of the IB programs, the IB teachers, that a child from Central or Northwest or Mount Pleasant, any other of the high schools, doesn't have to travel there, but should be able to link into the classrooms and take advantage of that. It's more like a intra distance learning within the county. There's got to be a way that you can do that to make that opportunities available to all the kids, so that instead of having an AP history class in every single one of the high schools, to have it in 3 or 2 or 4, and the others distance learn from there, is what my thought was when it was brought up.
Yeah, I think with the county's role, well, that, of course, would be funding.
Mm-hmm.
And there are movements as far as the technology departments, and in some of the QSCB money, there's some wireless funds in there, which will help some of the older schools, and they should be able to get it in place. And I believe that there's been, for a number of years, discussion from at least Cabarrus County Schools' part on distance learning. And I would say that we should link it, or the conversation we need to have is not just Cabarrus County Schools, but Kannapolis City Schools, and seeing, since they have one high school, if there's any way of, partnering them up so that they could also provide courses. A lot of students, we also have the North Carolina Virtual Public High School, which is a little bit different, and a charter school looking to come into the area. But you could, I mean, the idea is you have a Chinese teacher at one school and then, students at another school. Because of the smart boards and technology, they can participate in the classes. I know my son's done that with college courses, and he perfectly fine doing that type of an arrangement for some that he's wanted to do, so. But it makes sense that we would put that with the schools, talk to the schools about it, and they can let us know, because what they're gonna ask for is funding for technology, and then us get involved in that. Other comments on that particular one?
I do have one on the goal, but
On the, this is still on goal number one? You
Yeah,
have a comment on that?
goal number one,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, let me make a suggestion on this particular one. If everybody's kind of okay with bringing this up, since we're meeting Thursday with Cabarrus County Schools, we could add that to the agenda with them and go ahead and kind of start some discussion and explain that that's what we're interested in and that we need them to be able to dialogue and come back to us with comments. And so if that's okay, we'll add that to the agenda for Thursday. Okay, so we're gonna go, you have a comment about the goal itself?
yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. I think I've talked to a couple of folks about this, and I know this is all theory, lessons learned, looking backwards, but in doing so, help us to even think about in the future, because I know that Mr. Burge, I think 2008 and 2010 both, one of the things you brought up was the massive amount of debt and the county has, and we had, I think, figured it up, and and I know that may have to adjust some of these numbers around, because I know that one of them was, I had added some numbers in, didn't need to add in, but something like that we had borrowed in the last 12 years, about $493 million for school construction. And during that period of time, we've watched our tax rate. It was 70 cents in 1998, drop as low as 53 cents during that same period of time, and come back up to 63. And then, we're looking now at discussions about the tax rate, and a large part of our tax rate is made up of debt service payments. Well, I kind of just did some theoretical figuring, and if you look back and not that we, boards would have done this, because you're dealing with about 6 different boards, but if the tax rate, because of the demand for new schools and the need for school space, had the board left the tax rate at a level at 70 cents, then my figures came out to about $490 million that we would have had that we could put in the PAYGO fund that would have, theoretically funded schools that I had to borrow money, and then we would have 20 cent, less demand on services now. So we kind of passed that, and I say that from point myself because I voted to borrow money for schools when the time we were building schools. But if the more we can put on a pay-as-you-go, the less that gives us more flexibility on the tax rate down the road. And I think that's one of the things we're facing with now is that when we've got, I'm not sure how much, it's about 18 cents on the tax rate is debt service, I believe. I'm not, I know that to put you on the spot, but I know it's a large, we have a pretty good number that's there that's debt service. And I think in the future down the road, long-term, looking at when we do have infrastructure demands that we know are coming up, is look at a way that we can set aside reserves and go to the public and explain that to them, that we can, pay for it now, in that respect, or be faced with really a mandated tax down the road that because we can't cut that money.
There you go. Any other ones on goal number one? Okay. Goal number two. Oh, sorry.
Do you want me to note that
You're gonna have to get the microphone, I think. Sorry. Or you're not gonna be picked up. Commissioner White's microphone.
This is great.
You just want to use my mic?
please. With that, do you want me to note that you want to consider a change to the percentage of pay-as-you-go? I guess what I'm doing is just taking notes on these boards for you to look at and determine where you may want to make some changes to some of these.
I think we should have at least 10% with a goal of up to 20%. Well, the problem with 100%, the problem that I have with 100% is if it's 100%, then we're holding too much cash, and that needs to be a lower tax rate.
We're not holding no cash.
Well,
Are we holding that much cash to pay off the debt?
no.
No, but if you
you're not
say
saying
it's
paying off the debt, you're
100%.
saying paying off for a school completely before we build it. And if we do that, then I believe the tax rate is too high to where we are able to save money to pay for a school all at one time. I think there needs to be a mix. And what that mix needs to be is what a board is comfortable with doing. I just think 100% is too much. I think 0% is too little. It needs to be a mix.
The interest don't buy you anything, paying interest on debt.
Yeah, but I mean, you could, his point is that you could set the tax rate now, please don't anybody freak out, at 80 cents, so that you tax too heavy just to be able to put it aside to be able to pay cash for things. So you don't want to do that. You want to have the tax rate lower, but where we
So you
can.
borrow money and pay the interest.
But I don't want anybody taxed at 80 cents to try to save up enough money to build a $50 million school building. I don't think that's logical either. So I agree there is a balance. I guess my question would be, the results comment is significantly more than 10% has been pay-as-you-go. Is it 20%? Is it 15%? I don't know what significantly more means. If you're asking if we need to change it from saying 10% to another percentage, then I need some numbers to be able to say that. I don't want to say 20% and you guys all, get upset because we're nowhere near 20%. I don't know
I'd rather see it be 25.
where we are.
Well, I can tell you, I don't have the data for our current and past projects, but our current CIP plan, about 29% of the school projects are paid through cash, and the other is paid through QSCAPs.
Okay, that's just this current one. I mean, I would presume that on
That's
the
for
next meetings that we have,
Mhm.
they're gonna have discussions of additional needs, and you have to decide what is the comfort level. I wouldn't want to write a policy that gets us in trouble because we don't have the funds available to do anything.
And that's true, we do not have all of their needs.
So, I mean, for me, 10% is still fine. The way that it's written, 10% with the goal of 20%. I mean, that tells us that we want to keep moving in this direction, but I wouldn't want to be too aggressive in the objective that it would cause problems down the road, and we wouldn't have 25% that we could actually pay on some of those. A $50 million high school, we're not going to have that much money sitting there with nothing to do. So, I mean, with nothing better to do with it. Then I agree with you, we are overtaxing. So I'm still okay with the 10% with the goal of it being 20%. And obviously, the smaller the project, the percent you can be much higher on. A big project, you need a smaller percentage. So, and I know that's an average kind of thing too.
Well, see, one thing that I think, and that's what I would make too, is that there's two assumptions in looking at what I talked about a while ago, was that if you go 100%, that you're gonna have every 2 years a board, and people are not gonna be running an election based on the fact that the tax rate is 20 cents too high. And then the second thing is that we've got to have the discipline to say, no, we're fencing off 10 cents on the tax rate every year to put in the reserve fund, and not going to allow the budget to creep up into that and take over that funds, because if you do, then you're back to where you started. So,
It would still save you money in the long run.
yeah, I agree. I mean, but what's the tax rate going to be, and what is that going to cause a backlash in the community? And then the community comes in and says, and if suddenly you get elected that don't want to do that, and they cut the tax rate, spend all the money, and then you're back to square one.
Ms. Dubois, you have a.
Yeah, as Erica was pointing out to you, that she gave you those percentages on the school projects, but for the county projects, it's 100% cash. Just wanted to point that out to you, but, and also let you know that we have a request into the community college in both school districts, inquiring as to what some of their needs are, and there's a somewhat confusion in explaining to them that we have nothing in our 5-year plan because we have no intentions of issuing any debt for the near future, but trying to explain that as we try to go to the next level of projects, the community college has a new building they want. The Kannapolis City Schools wants a new middle school, and Cabarrus County Schools wants a new elementary school. Well, we don't have the land for Cabarrus County Schools, but we have the land for the other two projects. And explaining that, saying, our first step would be to try to come up with money to buy the piece of land, to put them all three on a level playing field. The next step would be to come up with enough cash to pay for the architect and engineering. That gets you to the point where then your next step would be to fund the construction of the school, and most likely that's when the debt would probably come in. But if you could get the land and the architect and engineering in the cash mode, it actually makes a huge difference towards what you actually borrow. And we were able to be very successful in the last COPS issue we did, because we pulled together ADM money, APFO money, capital reserve money, lottery money, and debt, and a combination of all those projects. So, you know, we made it a great strive towards that, but how we're going to handle that in the future will be very difficult when you want to build a school and you say it's, you know, a $50 million high school. How do you, if you tax at a lower level, how do you build a contract for, say, a 3-year period, and you only have to pay a third of it, a third of it, and a third of it? And there may be a way of doing that, and maybe we need to start trying to think differently than what we've done in the past of the entire school, and working at how do you fund it over a period of time. And it's not a huge impact, but yet still meets that goal of paying cash towards it. So we have to start thinking a little bit differently on how we do things. But I think it's possible to do much better in the future.
Well, you, as you're paying off debt and debt service comes off, then you would look to, that's money you're no longer putting in on that debt service, that's funds then that could be used for pay-as-you-go. And I think that we do need to reduce the overall debt, just as people in their households need to do that.
Do you, is it something where I'm, you know, there's people out there that have much more math education than I think any of us do, that can look at, you know, from an actuarial standpoint, of if you presented with a 10-year plan, say from the school systems and the community college, to say, here's the price tag for that, here's the, you know, we did that one time before, but it was kind of just a community group got together, but somebody actually formally look and say, if you put X amount of dollars aside each year, you may have to borrow something to be a short-term borrowing for 2 or 3 years before you make the money back up, but create a revolving fund that, you know, almost like banking on ourselves. You know, we're creating almost a fund bank, a reserve bank that would meet that. Of course, problem is that, and I guess we'll talk about it some Thursday night, is that it seems like every year there's a new 10-year plan that comes out, so that we can't, until we get solidified, that lock in, that that's only be updated every 2 years, every 3 years, then I won't say what I would call it, but it's a popular game.
I mean, I think you
That's
can
it.
look out 2 or 3 years with some decent certainty, but if you get much more than that,
Yeah.
even 5 years out is too far out to plan.
Right.
And we know that whether it's a boom or a recession, 5 years is too far out to plan. And, you know, you do the best that you can do, so. But I'm sure we'll talk about all these things on Thursday, so, okay. And I think those are good ideas for staff to be looking at. Okay. Let's go to goal number 2, please.
Okay. Goal number 2, achieve community-wide preparedness to protect public safety, respond to routine and catastrophic events, and maintain and restore the well-being of all residents. That goal has 4 objectives, 2 of which we have rated as successful, and 2 of which are in progress or progressing in a positive direction. I would like to make a note of correction on item number 4 before we get started. In that report, in the results section, in the results column, we have all parties have agreed to not consolidate all 911 centers. However, it was agreed that all systems should be of like equipment. The county purchased the positron, and we will strike the word Viper 911 system in 2010, and is in interlocal agreement with Concord and Kannapolis to operate on a unified system. In addition, we want to add to that a second interlocal agreement. The county is in a second interlocal agreement with Concord, Kannapolis, Charlotte, and Mecklenburg for a regional radio system as well. Just want to note that correction to that, that update to that. But for the 2 items in which we have been successful, item number 2 asks all public safety agencies in the county to assess training, facility needs, and develop a plan to meet those needs. We feel that with the 7th floor renovations, and the master plan that's been developed and presented to county, we've made success with that measure, with that objective. And in the second measure, number 3, hold an extensive work session for information gathering and strategy development in the area of emergency management. The way the measure is currently written, to hold an extensive work session, we had, with that topic, we have been successful and that has been done. That is an item that we do have recommendations to update that measure, update that objective. And then the second item, which we have progress, is number 4. And only because of the way it is written, all parties have agreed to not consolidate a 911 center. So that puts it in the progress range. Also, well, that's it, because it's the way the measure is written to develop a systematic way to replace the current 911 and consolidate into one. Because the way the measure is written, it is, we couldn't put it as successful, but that is one that if the measure is revised, that we will make it successful. So the recommendation for number 2 is, for number 3, based on the status update in which we have already held the work session, we feel that we should advance this measure, this objective, and recommend deleting the current objective and replacing it with implementing the goals from that work session, which are bulleted there. Also, the second change that we're recommending is for number 4. As I stated before, we recommend changing that objective, and the recommendation is to change it to create a regional redundant 911 communication system rather than the current goal as written.
Comments on goal number 2?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think it sounds good too.
Okay, we'll do those. Goal number 3, use resources wisely and responsibly by protecting assets, minimizing risk, creating partnerships, and using technology to maximize the value of county investments and expenditures and services. That has 2 objectives, one in which we've been successful with the board's continuing education efforts, and then the second, when we're making progress and institutionalize a joint school facilities planning and construction committee and collaborate with school boards to develop cost-effective and comprehensive construction standards. Also consider alternative uses to school buildings after hours. That one we're making progress in. With the school site guidelines that have been developed and recently presented to the board, have been adopted by Cabarrus County Schools, and they are on course to be presented to Kannapolis City Schools. So that's the pending item towards achieving success with regards to that measure. The second part to that objective, consider alternative uses to school buildings after hours. I actually have no report on that one. On that sentence.
Yeah, I think we can add that to Thursday's agenda, please.
And Erica, you weren't here, but one of the things that we were talking about is there a way that RCCC can use the facility after hours, use the school facilities after hours to save on having to build new buildings, or even during the summer hours or summer schools? Is RCC have classes that would be during those period of times that would save money so we didn't have to build a new building?
Okay.
And then one of my pet peeves is also the outside sports facilities, is having those opening up for the general public instead of having the silos that are created right now.
Okay. We actually have no recommendations for changes on this goal. We'll move on to number 4. Promote a fully engaged community with a shared understanding of its issues and challenges and working together to achieve its goals. This has one objective, and it is in the planning stage. Staff are currently, a work session was held by the board with regards to communication, and currently staff are working on drafting a plan to further promote community engagement within our various processes. But we do have a recommended change for this measure. We actually recommend deleting the measure as it is, because the measure is to hold a work session. A work session has been held, and we recommend advancing this measure to creating 2 new objectives. One is to educate taxpayers about the budget process and county services, and 2, improve public involvement in decision-making, to make it more clear.
Comments?
Support that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've tried to be transparent. There are a number of ways right now for taxpayers, just like this being televised, to see what we're doing. And we, of course, always have open meetings that are available to be attended by anyone. We're all happy together today. At this point in time, we had some folks here earlier, but, you know, it's important for people to pay attention and to get involved, so that they do understand what we're doing.
I think that number 2 needs to be the objective, improve public involvement in decision-making, and then I think that and then modify 1, instead of educating taxpayers about the budget process, I think it's educating taxpayers about all issues, not just exclusive of the budget process. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do throughout the year that, I know what the intent was under 1, but I really think it's more expansive than just the budget process. I think it's all the issues.
So, the budget process, the specificity there, and
Right.
just county services and.
You know, yeah, I do. You know, as we start trying to work on developing this dog park, if that's the issue, we certainly want to have more community involvement. As we want to do some more things at Camp Spencer or another one, we want, you know, that, so I don't think want to be limited, I don't think it's limited to just the budget process. And I do think number 2 would maybe be the whole thing, is improve public involvement in decision-making through Channel 22, through all the things that are being done right now.
Also, what I think one thing on that too, you know, a couple of things. One of them is that I know in the past we've had during a budget process, instead of waiting until we announce the public hearing for June, whatever that date is that we're voting on the budget, whatever the date is in June when we do that. Instead of just announcing the public hearing that day, is that we open up for public, like we have done before each of our budget sessions. If there's people here, open up for public comment at the end of those sessions. That way you get more feedback from the public, you know, going into it. So it's not just waiting until we've already went through and reviewed, we've already made our changes, and suddenly the night we're doing it, it's almost like a symbolic public hearing we have, where you don't, you know, hear from somebody after, you know, at the end of the budget session on a particular topic they're interested in. They have to wait till then, and we've already got everything finalized, and if we decide to delay it that night, then we've got to go back and scramble around and wait for, you know, try to get something done in 2 weeks from that, and then till the end of the month.
Well, I think we've had a number of comments made already.
Oh, I know that. So.
And a presumption that we have already done our
Yeah.
budget discussion, which we have not.
Yeah.
So based on that, if anybody's listening, we do meet in 2 weeks on the 21st, and the budget will be presented to us from the county manager. And people can always come to our regular meetings, any of our regular meetings. So if somebody wants to come and make a comment in 2 weeks on the 21st, they sure can. And then, of course, we have 4 budget meetings right thereafter, Tuesday, Thursday, 22nd, 24th, 29th, 31st, for presentations. And I would encourage anybody that's interested to come to those meetings, and we're all available by email or phone, so people can make comments to us.
Other
during
thing
the whole
is,
process.
and I think it's something, I don't know whether it's something to simplify. I think the matrix we have is a great thing, but I think people a lot of times don't understand that. They think just because $1 comes in, that's all just put in one big bucket, and don't realize that we've got, you know, we have the landfill fund, we have the arena fund, we've got, you know, the general fund. Then you also have our capital reserve funds, and we've got, you know, how those, so we may spend dollars in one area, and somebody says, well, why are you spending that $10 million? Well, that's money we had built up to pay for a capital project, and they're thinking that we're spending money, and we're, you know, we don't realize we already have the money on hand, and that how those things work. I don't have a simple way to read it to, you know, whether it's like colored buckets or, you the money that's, how the money's divided up, or how it comes into each bucket, or how it goes out of each bucket. I don't know whether there's some kind of novel way that can be done, if you simplify that. But I wonder sometimes from the folks that they don't want to have it explained, because it's easier just to make political hay out of that you're spending the buck, so.
We did simplify on the construction projects that are in the CIP. We used to run them through the general fund, and we're now taking them directly from the capital reserve to a capital projects fund, so we don't have them commingled and make the general fund go up and down and up and down. So it stays more consistent, but there are a multitude of funds that we do have that makes it very complex, and then there are some that are annually adopted that are in the budget book, and then there are some that are multi-year that are not in the budget book, and it does become very confusing.
Okay, so we'll look at wordsmithing that a little bit for goal number 4 then, based
Yeah, I
on the
mean, yeah.
comments.
Okay.
Goal number 5.
The last goal, number 5, ensure that all citizens have equal opportunity and access to education, healthcare, and economic prosperity, and engage citizens to fulfill their potential and contribute to their community. It has 2 objectives. One in which we have identified as being a success with the community needs assessment. Use the new community needs assessment to guide a collaborative community effort to consider the needs and issues raised by the assessment. We feel that that's been accomplished through the Healthy Cabarrus group, and they have the State of the County Health Report that is available, and they're currently updating that plan this current year. So a success with that regard. The second objective, we're in the planning stage. It says hold an extensive work session for information gathering and strategy development in the area of economic development. This is a measure, objective in which we have a recommended change. We've done couple different things with regards to economic development with local economy, our local food council, and our contributions to the EDC. We do recommend, however, with regards to this specific objective, to change it. Currently it says hold an extensive work session for information gathering. We do think the county needs a more specific goal with regards to this objective. So once the county determines our current role or what our role will be or is in economic development, that we reevaluate this objective and create one that's more representative of our role.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussions, staff level, with the folks at economic development, and looking at what's the new direction that we want to go in, and then we're going to bring that back to you. I'm not sure that meeting will actually take place to give you guys another meeting for the month of May, but they will discuss at the budget meeting some new direction that they are proposing to take to address not only the recruiting side that they were doing very well, but also to address the local businesses and the small businesses, and how they can work alongside and sort of do that as well as the recruiting, but then also work along with the Sustainable Council as well, and both efforts move in a positive direction to support local businesses and smaller businesses. So they will be coming to our board here with some recommendations and requests as we do the budgets.
They being the EDC?
They being the EDC.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood
Yes,
correctly.
ma'am.
Comments on goal number 5 or questions?
I think it looks good.
Okay.
Okay, anything, and that's, all we have up there is to reevaluate number 1. Anything else? Okay.
No? Okay. Well, that concludes my report, and we will take these items and update the plan accordingly, and there are some that requires follow-up on, particularly after you guys meet with the school board, and after we receive the report from the EDC, we'll come back to you on further updates if needed.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing we've really emphasized during this budget process now while we've had department heads evaluate their existing programs and anything that they're proposing to go new, okay, what is it doing to achieve or assist in achieving these goals and objectives? And if it's not, then we're not gonna consider it.
Well, I think that's how you need to be doing it. And, you know, I know you guys have all been working extremely hard to get ready for the budget presentation and for all of our budget hearings. And, you know, I know that in January, we told the county manager and staff that we expected our portion of the budget to be less than it currently is. And I know that's, not that everybody believes it, but I do believe that the last few years, we've worked very hard to cut the budget and find some synergies and to merge positions in order to reduce the budget. And I think you're doing that again this year. So it'll be interesting to have all the budget conversations and see where we are. I don't think that a lot of people in the general public understand that, you know, I don't know what it is, 75% of our budget, we really have very little control over. And, you know, staff has been working real hard on the part that we can control. And we can hold the line on the other areas, but as far as, you know, what's in those other budgets, we can't do line item vetoes and things like that and really mandate a whole lot where the checkbook is concerned. So I appreciate everything for us to look at the strategic plan. The next thing that we have on our agenda is the approval of the regular meeting agenda. So if you'll look at that, I hope I got it all correct. We will move under the proposed one that you have at your seats. 11, 12, and 15 will be moved to new business, and 18 will be eliminated at this time. That'll come back to us later. Is that okay? Do you agree? Say yes. Yes. If it's any different, I'll let you know, but I'm pretty certain I got it right. I mean, that's the notes I had was 11, 12, and 15 will move to new business, so, and 18 will go away. Okay? Yes? Do you have something else? Oh, no, that's, on this agenda, 9 is actually 12.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, you have to look at the version of the proposed new agenda for the 21st. So page 120 on your iPads or hard copy. So if there are no other corrections, then at this time I would take a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as amended. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's the only thing that I have down for the agenda. Is there anything else, Commissioners? If not, I would accept a motion to recess to Thursday, May the 10th, 2012 at 5 p.m. to have a joint meeting with the Cabarrus County Schools Board of Education. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. We are now recessed.